When someone hears the term emperor, thoughts of a strong and mighty individual are birthed. Someone who holds supreme power over a vast land and harnesses an equally vast military imbued with undying loyalty to carry out the emperor's will. History has seen the likes of such people of grandeur, like Caesar Augustus, who succeeded in establishing the mighty Roman Empire over the Old Republic. But we will not be talking about the first official emperor of Rome, nor will there be any great people of grandeur. Today, we will look into the life of the last Western emperor in the midst of his nation's destruction. Romulus Augustus was born bearing the name of the founder of Rome and the first emperor. Yes, the irony is very painful. His father was General Flavius Orestes, a man who would sacrifice the stability of the empire for his own lust for power, like every guy in Rome at the time. As soon as he was promoted to Magister Militum, Orestes used his newfound power to usurp the current emperor, Julius Nepos, who was forced to flee into exile in Dalmatia. So now that usurper Orestes succeeded in his coup attempt, you'd think that he would proclaim himself emperor, but no. Instead, he appointed his kid, Romulus Augustus, as emperor, so that he could rule the throne from the shadows. Now, imagine you are Romulus. You're 14, just beginning to understand the basics of reality, when your old man bursts through the door and says, "Congrats, son, you're an emperor now. You know, no pressure." So, in 475, a teenaged Romulus was placed at the helm of a 1,000-year-old empire, with no military or leadership experience to speak of. What a great idea! His rule was not much ruling, as it was listening to what his father told him to do. A far cry from the powerful emperors of old. It was his ascension to power when Romulus adopted the name Augustus. However, most would end up calling him Augustulus, or Little Augustus, instead. And his unremarkable rule, the father-son duo did not build monuments, or do really anything of note, aside from minting coins bearing Romulus's name. It hadn't even been a few months since he was proclaimed emperor, before the towering men of the north came knocking. You see, at the time of the empire's downfall, the military became overly dependent on Germanic mercenary groups, instead of the disciplined legionnaires of the past. Such mercenary groups held no allegiance to their employers, and often turned on Rome, depending on how well the situation benefited them. So after their payments got delayed, and witnessed the overall weakness of the current administration, some Germanic mercenaries sought to exploit the situation to their advantage, and led a revolt under the leadership of Chief Odoacer. They sent a referendum to Orestes, demanding a third of Italy, then rose up when he inevitably refused such an absurd demand. What resulted was a bloodbath. Odoacer and his men would swiftly and systematically conquer county after county. Orestes would be quickly captured and executed near Piacenza. His administration quickly fell with him. The young emperor, Romulus Augustus, would be forced to abdicate, and another usurper would take over. But this was no ordinary usurper, but a first in a long line of barbarian rulers in what was once the heartland of Rome itself. What imperial holdings remained will be left to fend for themselves, as hordes upon hordes of Germanic barbarians staked their own claims and kingdoms. The now King Odoacer then sent the imperial regalia to the eastern half of the empire as a statement that the Western Empire was officially dead. Surprisingly enough, though, Eastern Rome would recognize Odoacer's rule, and he would continue to keep the Senate intact, even gaining their support, which cannot be said for the reign of Romulus. However, now comes the question, what happened to little Augustus? Unlike his father, he would not be executed, but instead given a pension and was allowed to live in Misenum, near modern-day Naples. Sadly, this is when things get far more blurry, as Romulus exits public life. It can be assumed that he lived a comfortable life, but for how long has been lost to time. Perhaps in his retirement, he reflected on the mantle he briefly held. Its long history of good and bad rulers who determined the fate of a quarter of the world's population. The awe-inspiring mega-constructions they erected, and the sea of elite soldiers who aided in the imperial image of peacemaker or tyrant. Perhaps Romulus thought of such things. The boy who saw the end of his civilization. Perhaps he even asked the question, what if?